Welcome to Lessons That Last, where a researcher and a teacher talk about what it means to make a lasting impact on students' lives. They unpack the stories former students shared about their memorable teachers and discuss how we can all make a greater impact on the people in our lives. Here's Julie and Laura.
Hello, and welcome back to the Lessons That Last podcast. I'm Julie Hassan, professor, researcher, all the things, and with me is my lovely co-host,
Laura Estes Swilly. I am all the things as well, but different things. English teacher, high school, and writer, and really enjoying sinking into some poetry right now.
Speaking of poetry, I won't do roses or red, but we're heading into Valentine's Day as we record this episode. And I've been thinking as I go through the grocery and see the little kiddos at the schools I visit about all the excitement leading up to Valentine's Day. And you and I always enjoy comparing the levels we've taught. So I was always primary, like pre-K through 3. You're the opposite end, seniors. So what is the time leading up to Valentine's Day and the big V-Day like in high school?
So we talked about this last pod. I always feel really strongly compassionate toward the boys at Valentine's Day because I think there's a lot of pressure on them to show up, show out. And so there will always be just these tiny little cute girls carrying teddy bears as big as they are with roses and balloons and a gift bag, and they can't even function. They can't get in a door because there's so much giftage. So there's lots of gift giving and showing how much someone is appreciated. The friends give each other gifts, which I love. I love that celebration of friendship that kind of mirrors the early days of Valentine's Day in school. And and when we were in school, Julie, remember how the dancerettes would sell the carnations, right? Mm-hmm. And so you would buy a carnation, fill out a little heart, and it would be delivered on Valentine's Day. That kind of thing happens as well. Sometimes it's a bag of candy, or right now they're selling the wooden roses, the roses that are like made out of thin wood shavings. Right. Those. So it's all a buzz. Like Valentine's Day is a big day on a high school campus.
It makes me think of you go, Glen Coco. 2 for you, Glen Coco.
Exactly.
Candy cane from Mean Girls. Because so much of it, I think, in high school must be about comparison. So I guess here's all the ways my boyfriend, partner, girlfriend, whatever, has shown love and admiration publicly for me, because it's all about the public show and comparison, validation, all of those things. And I heard someone say the other day that most of our suffering is about unmet expectations.
Yes.
And that has to be true for high school kids on Valentine's Day.
I agree. And I actually always talk to my kids about it, like in a very metacognitive way. Why are you doing this to each other? This pressure is not necessary. I start talking about it when I start seeing the commercials with give her a diamond for Valentine's Day. And I'm like, come on. Well, who needs a diamond for Valentine's Day? Listen, nobody loves diamonds like I do, but what pressure to think that you would have to buy me $1,000 worth of gifts for Valentine's Day. And that trickles right down to the kids who are making $10 an hour and they have to put on the big show.
And it's such a message fraught with inaccuracy and untruths. Because if we think about what love really is, and if we want to teach young people what love really looks like, it's not necessarily a giant teddy bear one day of a year. It's the way you support and cherish and care for someone 365 days a year in small ways that lift people up and help them rise, because frankly, you could be a pretty abusive jerk.
Yes.
364 days, and that giant teddy bear doesn't change.
But I agree. And that's what I was thinking when you were saying that. The message has gotten mixed. Mm-hmm. We aren't, I think we are in our homes, by and large, teaching kids how to be good people and treat people kindly and lovingly and all of those things. But societally, that message is gone. It's big show, do something big to, maybe make up for all of the jerk you've been for a year, and like sort of reel her back in. And that's the societal idea that I find so distasteful.
And every day I say this, like I think at least once a day, I am so glad that when I was in high school and college, social media did not exist.
Yes.
Because so much of this kind of stuff, don't you think, is what can I put on my social media post to make everybody else see how special I am?
I agree. Social media is very hard. But also, honestly, Julie, I think that the hallways are the first social media, right? Walking through the hallway back at Armwood High School, how many carnations were you carrying on Valentine's Day? Did somebody bring you a little box of candy? It wasn't as outlandish as it is now, but there were signs that you were loved, whether it was by a romantic partner or a friend or all the friends. Like, how big is your friend group and how popular are you is measured by how many carnations you're carrying. And now, of course, it's much bigger, and social media has probably a lot to do with that. But I think we had those same measures.
Or if you were us who got to go to high school where my mom taught, you would get a secret admirer carnation.
Yeah, that's true. And we always sent each other the carnations, which was fun and sweet as well. Yes. And when I was taking my niece Sophie to high school with me every day, as she was as a senior in my English class, she sent me a little bag of candy that they were selling. And I was like, oh, I got a bag of candy. It was very sweet. And it just felt like that little extra something that was between us in the relationship that we had built over all those years.
I love that. And kind of broadening the way we think about love and who we love and what that looks like.
Yes.
Because love exists in so many different ways and different forms. And all of those are important. Equally as important as some boy with a giant teddy bear.
I agree. It's you're kind of preaching what Jason Swilly was preaching to me yesterday. We attended a wedding. I don't think we've been to a wedding in a while. And this was a wedding of one of his younger cousins who is very, very dear to Jason's heart. And we were so excited to be able to be there. And, life gets busy and you aren't always maybe your spouse's best partner every day, because who is? We're not perfect. And I mean, I hate to admit it, but even I, Julie, am not perfect.
I don't believe it.
So we were at the wedding, and this officiant was very concentrated on talking about not just this marriage, but all the marriages in the room, which was unusual. You don't always hear that.
Yeah.
And at the reception, at one point we were dancing and he said, we need weddings. We need to go to more weddings. Like once a year, let's try to get to a wedding, because it just reminded us why we were there and who we are to each other, because you get bogged down in life. And that's the truth about loving each other in a real way that you're talking about. Same story.
Yeah. And that sometimes love looks like a grand romantic gesture. Mm-hmm. Not often at my house, but sometimes. But more often at my house, love looks like someone fishes your socks out of the bed that you took off when your feet got hot at 2 a.m. like every day.
Yes.
Things like that.
Right.
And we have to help, I think, our young people have a more realistic, grounded definition of what love is.
We do. And it's an uphill battle because the media and music and movies have corrupted some ideas of love.
And Taylor and Travis, because not only is it coming up on Valentine's Day, it is coming up in a few short hours as we record this on the Super Bowl, and we are all waiting to see will she make it from Japan.
I am very positive she will make it from Japan, but I have read all of the, the over-unders, and the people are betting on all the things. And one of the things they're betting on is whether or not he's going to propose. And that is the perfect example of how messed up we have gotten this.
Yes.
I would be angry. I have no stake in this. I really couldn't probably name more than 3 Taylor Swift songs. Not that I don't like her. She's great. Travis Kelce, he's great, but he plays the sport ball. I don't pay a lot of attention to him. But I would be outraged if that man proposed to her at the Super Bowl. And of course he's not going to, because he's an actual person,
right? Not
a child. But that's the level.
It is so high school. And these are people in their 30s now. And it's like the 2 popular kids at high school are dating, and that's all we can all talk about.
Exactly. And it's so inflated our expectations of romance and love. And you can see it in what people are even talking about with this Super Bowl.
Yeah. Goodness, which makes me super happy that I taught pre-K through 3rd grade.
Yes. So here's my memory of pre-K through 3rd. Was making those little mailboxes. Do they still do that? You put a little box on your desk?
They definitely did when I taught. You brought in your cereal box, your empty cereal box, and we wrapped it in red paper, and we took a doily and painted the white paint over it so it made a cool heart. And we put your name on it. And in our class, the rule was with K through 3, everybody gives a Valentine, everybody gets a Valentine. So if you were going to bring, you had to bring I sent the list home so you could spell all the names, all the Braylons, and all the names. And the kiddos who didn't come with Valentines, because we had some kids who that just wasn't a possibility for their family, I would buy extra boxes. Parents would donate extra boxes. Everybody got, but the thing I loved most was we would take the white bulletin board paper and put it across the board, and we would write everybody's name is loved because. Braylon is loved because. And kids would write what they love about their friends. It was just the best. And it was sweet, innocent,
love that.
Simple friend love.
I love that.
Braylon is loved because she helps me open my milk at lunch. It was stuff like that was just so pure and sweet, and such a better picture of love.
That's beautiful. It makes me really wish I didn't have 160 students, because I don't have that much wall space or banner space to put everyone's name on the wall, but I would love that. What a beautiful affirmation of being a person, to acknowledge that we are all loved because we are all just good, solid people.
And we're part of this community. And
yes,
that is what we do and who we are. We love each other. We help each other. Everybody, no matter what, is always an important part of the community. So that pre-K through 3rd grade, Valentine's is a little sweet and pure and magical.
I bet. I was buying some Valentine's gifts for my family, and one of the things I wanted to look at was Lego, Valentine Lego. And I saw the 24-pack of Valentine Legos where they're in a little basket or a little bag to put, your kid can send them. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. And they weren't terribly expensive. It was maybe $15 for 25 of them. Wow. That makes Valentine's Day really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, and as a teacher, it was just fun. They'll write you little notes, and I always did a little special Valentine poem for them. So all the good stuff. So you picked a story about a kindergartner today. You picked Cassie's story. So why did you pick Cassie's story?
Well, I had a couple of reasons, and a lot of it we've already talked about, because she does mention Valentine's and then just the sweetness of it. But often when I read anything about a kindergarten, I see you in that room. And Cassie's story, I was like, oh, this could be one of Julie's students. Just the sweetness of that room and all of the opportunities to learn and grow that come as something brand new, right? Yes. Kindergartners, they've never done this before. And everything is new and fresh and clean and exciting. And I thought, I'm ready for a little bit of that. It's February. The year is getting tough. It's heading into that tougher part of the year. Let's remember how exciting the beginning of school, literally the first day of school, but that first year of school can be.
Yes. Kindergarten is the place of ordinary miracles. Like every single day, there's a little bit of magic. It's exhausting.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I had a friend who taught kindergarten next door to me describe it as holding corks underwater. Like one is always popping up. That is the best analogy.
Oh, I love that.
Teaching kindergarten, herding cats, corks underwater. But oh my goodness, the joy of kindergarten. So would you, Laura, read Cassie's story about Mrs. Gibbs for us?
I would love to. I walked into my kindergarten classroom and immediately noticed my name, the one word I could read, written on my desk, my cubby, and my coat hook. I soon learned to write my name, and because the names of my classmates were so prominently displayed, I learned to write my friends' names too. I wrote our names in paint on big pieces of paper and on sidewalks with big pieces of chalk. I was so proud when I wrote my classmates' names on each of their Valentine cards and signed each card myself. One spring day, we wrote our names on big styrofoam cups. We filled each cup with rich brown soil and carefully added a bean seed. Mrs. Gibbs lined the cups up in the windowsill. Every morning, I ran into the classroom to find the cup with my name. It seemed like forever, but one day I peeked in to find a tiny sprout. I still remember that cup with my name on the outside and a tall green bean plant growing inside. Mrs. Gibbs filled my kindergarten days with play and projects, and she taught me to proudly put my name on my work. I was always so excited to bring home a painting, a paper, or a bean plant with my name written on it. Even now, I try to make sure the work I do is worthy of my name.
Mrs. Gibbs, and the ordinary miracle of a bean and a styrofoam cup.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah. And Cassie just holding on to that first lesson, the beauty of the beginning. So sweet.
And I was thinking too, like, as we get older, we all go through this phase. Maybe not all of us, but I know I did. And I think you did too, where you wished you had a different name.
Yes, absolutely.
Because your name just starts to seem so ordinary or not the coolest. For me, like, I always wished I was Tiffany.
My name, which I really think is a lovely name, Laura, is beautiful, but there's no music in it, right? I wanted something more, a little like maybe more dramatic, like Anastasia, that would be dramatic and musical to my 10 ear.
It's so funny that you say that, because when we were in high school, a certain Christopher Cross wrote a song that they played on General Hospital when Luke and Laura were going through some very dramatic times. And I always thought that Think of Laura song was so beautiful.
It was a beautiful song. And our friend, Terry Roberts, lifelong friend of yours, because you knew her in first grade. And
Brownies. Yes.
Brownies. And she is a big supporter of our project. She, in high school, came to school one day and said, Laura, I had a dream last night that you died. And they made me sing Think of Laura at your funeral.
Now, have you ever heard Terry sing?
Yes.
I think this one is out of her range, but I appreciate. I'm not sure that was a stressful dream for Terry.
Yes, right? Can you imagine the stress? And she told it to me in a rush of words. Like, it was very stressful.
Oh, yes. I'm picturing it.
Definitely.
That's funny.
Definitely. So yes, I agree. We all want to have different names, but what I loved about Cassie was her joy to just write her friends' names everywhere.
Yes.
On the sidewalk, probably in her driveway. She probably had like notepads with all her friends' names over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, such eagerness to learn.
And one of the things we teach in kindergarten, which is an early literacy skill, is drawing a picture and labeling it, because they're not quite ready to write, most of them, full sentences or even phrases. So they draw and they label. And I'm imagining her drawing scenes with her friends and labeling with their names and labeling the things in the picture.
So sweet.
The other thing I thought about when I was reading this story and thinking about little girls, especially in kindergarten, and thinking about one of our favorite little girls who was a very bright and glittery, sparkly, energetic, excited little girl, Kaylin Hassan.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about her about that age, and she was very into frilly nightgowns, as you can imagine.
Yes.
And being the only girl in our family, the only granddaughter, had plenty of frilly nightgowns. And I remember her at that age putting her up on the stool by the sink, and she would brush her teeth, and she would look at herself in whatever Barbie princess frilly nightgown she had on that night. And she was just so pleased with herself.
Yes.
Like, she would smile at herself and she would appreciate herself. And I thought, at what age do we stop admiring ourselves and start to criticize ourselves? Because at that age, at 5, she just was thinking, look at me in this Barbie nightie, and I am rocking the Barbie.
Yes. Yeah. I can totally see that. And I think that's super reflected in Cassie and her excitement just about her name. Seeing her name was seeing herself. And yeah, you wonder, where does that happen? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Like, when exactly it happens, or why or how it happens. I imagine as we get toward 4th, 5th grade, pre-puberty, certainly middle school, we start to get lots of messages from lots of places, especially girls, that we're not okay.
Well, it's the comparisons. Once we start comparing ourselves to others, I think is probably when we stop being so excited to see our name on something. Because what if my name is on a piece of artwork and mine isn't as good as yours? Now I'm not that proud. My name is on the artwork. Or my new lunchbox isn't as cool as your lunchbox, and now I don't love it as much. I think it's comparison.
Yeah, maybe so. So how do we help kids hold on to this feeling of pride in themselves, of accepting themselves, of feeling good about who they are, instead of moving more and more toward that real critical, judgmental idea about themselves?
I feel like so much of this has already been sort of chewed away by the time they get to me. I think middle school is like the burning ground for that idea of self, that sense of self, and wanting to be better or be different. I don't know. I think it's all about acceptance, right? And not comparing. I think as all adults, we fall into comparing our kids or comparing our students or comparing ourselves to others unfavorably almost always. How often do you sit around and say, well, I am so much prettier than that neighbor? That's not what we do. And so I think the kids see us comparing ourselves unfavorably. They hear us comparing another kid who's really great in gymnastics, but my kid's not that good, so we're just doing this for fun. And they internalize it. So I think it starts with us.
I think so too. And maybe not always as adults doing a great job nurturing kids' unique strengths and talents.
Yes.
Like maybe focusing on weaknesses or the parts of kids that aren't as strong and trying to strengthen those instead of finding the pieces that are beautiful and unique and strong and leveraging those.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoy when my students are working on something. I don't know. I like all the things my students do. I'm not coming up with lessons that I don't like or that I think are boring. So when they work in groups, it's one thing, but when they're working on something independently, so my two regular classes, the last couple of days were working on something kind of complex and it was independent work. And so I really enjoyed being able to go around the room and say, I am so proud of you. You really went for it with this. Now, I'm not saying the whole thing was perfect, Julie, but I'm looking at that one little piece and I can be super impressed by it and tell them how on target they are or compliment them with the way that they're reading the text. Even if it's just an art compliment, which is not necessarily scholarly, but it's still a compliment. I really enjoy being able to go around and do that in a meaningful way. And when they are creating something, it is more meaningful.
Yes. And I think we all bloom around people who aren't judging us.
Yes.
And if I think about one of the reasons I love teaching kindergarten, and the same reason we all love babies and puppies, is there's no judgment there. They're like, oh, you're so beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
I remember like drawing pictures on the chart for my kindergartners and saying, well, I didn't draw that very well. And they would say, what? That's amazing.
Yes.
And I think if we could look at our kids more often without judgment.
Yes.
And just admiring them, that might go a long way.
I agree. And so it's being kinder to ourselves and remembering we don't want to be judged, and then presenting that face to the world that also isn't judging. That's just accepting people where they are. And isn't that the foundation of being a teacher? We meet them where they are. So why can't we just embrace them where they are as well?
And I think as parents and as teachers, when we are working with younger people, it's easy to compare our 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old wisdom with their 10, 12, 18-year-old wisdom and judge them and be frustrated with them instead of saying, let me think about myself at 18.
Yes.
And compare my 18-year-old self to their 18-year-old selves. And then I wouldn't be quite so harsh, right?
Exactly. Right. You align your expectations.
I see it in higher ed all the time with especially some of our older faculty who it's the constant kids these days.
Yeah.
They're not motivated. They're this, they're that. And my favorite question is, what were you like at that age? Like, did you have all your shiz together? Because if you did, you were the only one.
Right. I think I am good at this exact thing, because you knew me in middle school and high school. Nobody had less together. I mean, my outfit was together, and that is all.
And
there was nothing else.
Your hair was
my hair, only the front.
On point.
Let's be honest. So I am very open when I see a student. I am very clear. Oh yeah, that was me, or I was like that, or I wasn't even that. I didn't even have that together. So I think it might be hard. A lot of teachers were really star students who wants to become a teacher who spends their life in a classroom, other than people who loved being in the classroom. And so we forget that like we're all not the same. And I think for me, I was not a star in the classroom at a certain point. And I really draw on that when I'm working with my students.
Yeah. So let's all stop being that Dana Carvey character, the church
lady.
And so judgy and condescending, and maybe instead find things to appreciate about our kids, whether they're kindergarten or high school seniors or beyond? Can we look at them without judgmental eyes and really with appreciation for the unique, beautiful people they are? That's my challenge for all of us this week, because we all fall into the judgment trap.
Yes.
And no one likes to be judged. We want to be loved and admired. So this Valentine's Day, let's give that as a gift. No judgment, just love and admiration.
I love it. I love it. So thank you, friends, for spending a little time with us today. We're so happy that you are here.
And if you are following along in the Lessons That Last book, you can find this book on lesson 56, titled Instilling Pride. So grab your Lessons That Last book, check out Cassie's story about Mrs. Gibbs, and give a little love and appreciation to the folks in your life this week.
Yes.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, friends. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you will subscribe to the Lessons That Last podcast wherever you listen. Give us a rating too, which will help other listeners find us. And don't forget to visit chalkandchances.com for more stories. You can also find more information on Julie's research and books. While you're there, take the quiz to find out what kind of memorable teacher you are. I took it and was surprised by what I found. I think you'll find good food for thought. Let us know about your quiz results. We hope you will meet us here each week and bring a friend to share the conversation.